Tuesday at 4:30, we have a high school student, Matthew, who's going to be doing a social group chat with Matt. He also speaks fluent Mandarin, so if you're English or you're Mandarin speaking, please come join us. That'll be 4:30 to 5:30 on Tuesday. Thursday, January 23rd at 1 o'clock, we have a girls group music program that's open to everybody. The last Tuesday of every month, we have a memory cafe. What that is, that's for anybody that's diagnosed with dementia and their care partner. So we have lunch, we have entertainment. It's a wonderful, supportive, light environment for everybody. If you are interested in coming, we do provide lunch, so we just need you to sign up prior to that. We have dinner with Doug, so if you enjoyed breakfast this morning, Doug was our pitch-hitting chef. Jim could not make it, so Doug cooked for us. He does dinner once a month, so January 28th, he'll be cooking dinner, roast beef, mashed potatoes, green beans. That's at 5 o'clock. If you're interested, please sign up. And then Chris Chirokas, our program manager, is working on trying to get a group together. We would like to do some more focused programming on the LGBTQ community. So if you're somebody, a member of that community, if you're a friend of that community or an interested party, we're going to be having a meeting on January 29th at 2 o'clock, so we can try to do some more focused programming for that population. I'm going to hand it over to John. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Doug also does the Bistro 30 on Wednesdays.
He does, yes.
Doug also does the Bistro 30 on Wednesdays. Thank you. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Sharon, for everything you do for the Senior Center and the seniors. Good morning. I'm John Mangiaratti. I'm the town manager. I work in Town Hall. I love coming here to see the seniors. I just wanted to tell you all this is a program that is broadcast live on TV. So if you're not comfortable on camera, don't look that way. And anything that you say will be heard by the masses, because a lot of people watch this show, I think, maybe afterwards. But I appreciate you being here. I usually like to start by talking a little bit about myself, just so you know who I am. I grew up in the city of Attleboro, which I'm very proud of. I went to college in Worcester, which I also enjoyed. I went to Clark University. I got a master's degree at it used to be called Boston State. Then it was called something else. When I went there, it was UMass Boston, over by the water in Dorchester, and I'm proud of that as well. And after that, I was an assistant town manager in Westford, a deputy town manager in Andover, and for the last 6.5 years, I've been the town manager here. Being a town manager is a really fun job. I get to help out with all the really cool and interesting and important services that we provide in this community, whether it's providing services and programming for the seniors, or working on public safety issues with police and fire and dispatch, recreation, finance. We do it all, and it's a lot of fun, and we do important work, and I'm proud to be part of the organization. I work for the Select Board. The Select Board, who you all elect, we have 5 members of the Select Board, and they hire a town manager to do the work of the town, and then hire department heads, and all the departments do important things for all of you. So that's where we are, and that's where we're going. I wanted to mention there's a few staff that are here, in addition to Sharon. Penny Funioli is our Director of Health and Family Services. We have members of the police department here, Detective Leo Gower, and we have two clinicians at the police department. Beth Van Emberg, who you may have seen before, she's been here several times, and David Fair, who just started last week. And say hello, David. He may do a presentation afterwards. He likes to speak, so we'll see. No, but our clinicians provide a different level of service to the community that I think is traditionally part of police work, and it's a very important thing that we do here. A lot of work that the police do involves working with people that are in crisis, and the police do a really good job of getting there fast, addressing the safety concern, but then in addition to that, there's a bunch of work that goes into it afterwards that in the past we didn't have the resources to help those people, and now we do. We have 2. They work very well together, and they're helping people in need in this community, of which there are a lot. So thank you for what you're doing. We also have our Director of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, Wanjiku Gachugi, and she actually will be speaking later, so I'll save that when she comes up afterwards. But I wanted to go, did I miss anybody else? No, we're good. Of course, Mark Ducey, the Executive Director of ActonTV. He doesn't work for the town, but he's a big part of what we do every day. He runs ActonTV. ActonTV broadcasts our select board meetings, our finance committee meetings, and all kinds of other things that happen in the community. You get to see it because of the work that they do, so thank you for that. So this is, what is this, mid-January? We presented our budget, which is what we do to lead up to town meeting, which will be May 5th this year. After the override that passed last year, which I appreciate everyone's support, the financial stress on the organization is different, but the needs are still outweighing the resources available, if you can believe that. But we did a nice job, I think, of presenting a budget this year that meets the revenues that are available, leaves some funding in untaxed levy, which we think is important to recognize the sacrifice that people make when they vote for an override. They know that we want to spend that funding wisely, and leaving some untaxed, it's showing that we're continuing that effort to maintain a strong financial picture going forward. The process of meeting with the Finance Committee and the Select Board started. We had a big budget workshop on Tuesday night this week, another one next Tuesday, and every department went before the boards and discussed what they do for the community. ActonTV recorded it. It's about 2.5 hours. It gives you a full depth input of what every department does, and the department leader was the one presenting. So I really encourage you to check that out. It was actually Wednesday night, now that I think about it. It'll be on ActonTV. The one that's going to be on Tuesday night will also be recorded and shown later. So if you ever wondered what the Department of Public Works does, and any of the departments, the department head will be there to explain it, and it's a nice way to learn more about the town. So that's happening there. We have that process ongoing. If you drove by, you might have seen a big parking garage across the river, or across the pond there. That's 226 units of affordable housing, or housing, which includes 25% affordable housing. The parking garage is 5 stories, or four stories plus the ground level. That construction is underway. In town, we have a few big projects that we just launched. The 17 Woodbury Rehabilitation and Addition project, which is funded almost entirely from external sources, a federal earmark and CPA funds and ARPA. That's going to be kicking off before the end of the month. We'll be taking that house and sort of knocking off some of the modern additions, bringing it back to what it used to be in the 1800s, and then adding a small addition on the back to make it usable. And that'll work will start right now and go for about 8 or 9 months, and it should be ready by next fall. Again, totally funded from outside sources, but it's going to be a big amenity. It's going to be an important amenity for the community. We're right next to the library, right next to Town Hall. Instead of having an abandoned house there, we're going to have a property that you all can use, whether it's meeting for a cup of coffee or just going there and doing a small exhibit or other things that we'll have there. It'll be a nice add to the municipal complex. We also started funding, we also just got a check yesterday for $250,000 from the Stanton Foundation to start construction of a dog park. This is something that has been talked about for a long time, and we finally have the funding in place to start building the dog park, which will start in the spring or maybe sooner. We have the funding. We're just waiting for the work that's going on next to Route 2 to complete, which hopefully should be done soon. McManus Manor is going to be a new housing project. The closing on that property is supposed to be this week or maybe early next week, and they'll start building a big 41-unit complex right there. It's basically across from the veterinarian's office, next to the public safety facility, where the Kennedy Landscaping Building is right now. That'll be 41 units of affordable senior housing. Question? Yes, we take questions. We usually wait till the end, but we'll start now.
Don't forget the senior park.
And so, yeah, there's a lot going on there. So right now, they're drilling a sewer pipe under the highway. Once they finish that, we're going to start building a dog park. And at the same time, the Housing Authority is going to start building that 41 units. In between those two properties is an opportunity for us, once all that stuff is done, is an opportunity for us to build another amenity targeted for seniors, because it's going to be, it's not going to be a playground. It's going to be sort of a park-like structure with walking paths and benches and things that seniors like. You can let me know what that is, but I don't think you like playgrounds. Maybe you do. But that'll be the third thing that's going to happen on that property. But we need to get the other two kind of in motion first, because there's a lot going on there. But thank you for that question. There's a lot of other projects going on in town. I look forward to hearing questions about what's on your mind, because that's really the important part of this program, is when I get to do my best to answer all of your questions. And I think the questions that you have are the same questions that your friends and neighbors have, so it's a really important way for me to communicate answers to things that are on your mind. I also like to ask you to let me know if you read anything on Facebook that you think doesn't make sense, because I'm happy to dispel any myths that you see out there. Something that we just announced this morning that I think is of interest to folks is hi, sorry, I didn't see you guys over there earlier. I'll work the room better. We are starting a deployment, an alternative deployment pilot program with the fire department. What does that mean? That means that right now we have 4 fire stations, and then we have the public safety facility. That means our fire department personnel are in 5 locations. The chief and the deputy chief are the only ones in the public safety facility. But all the shift staff are at the 4 stations. We're going to try out what it's going to be. We're going to try out for 3 or 4 months running the fire personnel out of 2 stations. The North Station, which is the brand new one, and the South Station, which is over on School Street. We're not going to change the amount of people that we have. We're not going to change the amount of apparatus that we're using, but we're going to position them differently so that they can respond in a more effective way, we think. The chief, this is something that chief believes is something we should try. The department overall supports it. The employees overall support it. And we also have a grant that we've received from the state, which will help us to make sure that we're evaluating this pilot program using metrics, not just guessing, but we're actually using metrics to see whether this actually makes a measurable difference in some of the things that we're trying to do. Employee safety, public safety, employee morale, response, not response times, because I think at the select board meeting, we presented this Monday night to the select board. At the select board meeting, one of the members said, this is an interesting idea, because I think there's something to be said for getting 2 people to a scene quicker, but in reality, what you really need is to get 4 people to the scene so you can actually address the emergency. And so this new positioning will allow the staffing to be consolidated and have more people on an engine, for example, if a fire call comes in, instead of waiting for people to come from other stations. So it's a change. I think if you grew up or if you lived here for a long time next to a fire station in February, which is when we're proposing to start this, in March, if you're used to seeing people there, they won't be there for a few months, and so it'll be different, but the responses will be the same. And when you call 911, it's not going to matter. They're going to get there either way. The only thing that I'm a little bit concerned about is people that happen to walk up to a fire station in an emergency, which I don't think it happens very often, but I'm sure it could happen. And so what we're doing about that is we're posting very clear signage, where they would walk up to the doors and say, the station is unstaffed. Dial 911. We also have a push button that actually goes right to dispatch. So if you walk up to the door and you say, I'm in a crisis, I don't know what to do, you'll read that sign. If you don't have your cell phone in your pocket for some reason, which most people do, there's a button you can push that'll get you to dispatch. So we have that covered, and I think there's a lot of other things that we're going to continue to work through. I'd be interested to hear any feedback that you have or concerns that you would have so that we can make sure that we address those during the pilot period. When you do things as a pilot, it gives you a chance to just change. We said 3 or 4 months. If we find that this doesn't work after 2 or 3 weeks, we can just go back to the other way of doing it. We're not changing, we're not closing those fire stations. We're just changing the way we do it for a few months to see how it goes. So I'm excited about that. I think our new fire chief has brought some leadership that I think is taking things to a different level, and we're working closely with all the employees, and they want to try this out. So look forward to seeing how that goes and any ideas you have about that. Other important things I should tell you about, I'm going to think about for a second, but while I do that, I'd like to invite up our DEI Director, Wanjiku, who's worked here for about a year and a half. How long? 3 years. What? 3 years? What? Wow. Okay, well, why don't you start and introduce yourself, because I'm not doing a good job so far. Wanjiku.
Thank you. I guess I'm not that memorable.
Time flies.
Yeah. My name is Wanjiku Gachugi. I've been with the town for 3 years. Unlike John, I'm a transplant to Massachusetts. I'm a daughter of immigrants. I grew up in Nebraska, in Lincoln, Nebraska. I went to school in Maryland and DC. I moved here from Atlanta. I've only been here for 5 years. So it's been a roundabout way how I got here. So my office is DEI, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and I work with all departments on a variety of different issues, whether it's situations of bias, and actually there's a bias incident report that you can find on the town website. And that's for anybody who has experienced any issue of bias. So whether it's ageism, any kind of discrimination, you can just fill out the form. If you don't want to be identified with your name, just give me a phone number, and it's only I and John that can look at it, and I'll investigate it. I also do programming. I'm interested to hear what kind of programming you all would be interested in doing with the DEI office. I also work with the COA. So that's a little about me. I don't know what else I should say. Oh, yes. Yes, thank you. So I'm the staff liaison for the Commission on Disability. And we meet every, oh my goodness. Oh gosh, is it third Tuesday. And it's hybrid, it's online. I suggest for anybody who's interested to participate, the Zoom link is there, the agenda is posted 2 days before the meeting takes place. And the Commission on Disability addresses a variety of different issues. One of the key ones that they've been discussing has been transportation. So yeah, that's a little about me. I'm open to any questions that anybody has. I like to talk, so feel free to email me and call. I'm going to leave my card at the front desk. Wonderful to be here. Yeah.
Thank you, Wanjiku. 3 full years? Wait, when did you start? January. Wow. Things have happened so fast here. It's a high functioning organization. We're doing great things, and sometimes time gets away from me. But anyways, I think it's a good time now to go to questions from all of you. Although Penny noticed that there's a mic available, and she wants to get on it. Is that what's happening here?
I just want to put out the legal.
You gotta come over here. You can't do it from there. So Penny, who I introduced earlier, also would like to share an update on something.
So I just want to announce that the town has taken some of the ARPA money that was still relegated. We put it into a contract to have legal clinics available to anyone in the community, homeowner, renter, whatever that looks like for you. It's centralized around housing, but we know that there are some components of our lives that are connected to housing. So you may also investigate that with us. You can contact us at Tenant Support if you have a case that you'd like to be heard. The clinics are going to be here, 4 to 6, second Tuesday of the month, all the way till December 2026. So we got a good amount of time to get some help if you need some help. And in addition to that, we will be announcing, it's not been announced yet, but we'll do also some trainings for the community too around tenants' rights, understanding foreclosure, understanding how to prevent foreclosure, things like that. So we'll be working on that over the next year and a half, but we're really excited to get it started. We've already seen people get help immediately. So let us know if you have any questions, but tenant support at actonma.gov is a great place to start and to invest if you're questioning whether your question makes sense for the clinic. Other than that, you'll also find that there's a registration form on the town website, on a few other places, so you can directly register for an appointment there as well. I think that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Penny. So I welcome your questions or complaints or whatever you have for me. Yes?
You've mentioned ARPA a couple of times and also CPA. Can you tell us what those stand for and how the town
Sorry about that. Yeah, so acronyms are part of government. I apologize for that. The question was what is ARPA and CPA and how are they used? So I'll start with ARPA. ARPA stands for American Rescue Plan Act, and it's funding that was distributed by the federal government as part of the recovery from the pandemic, and it infused a ton of money into every city and town. Some of the big cities got dozens of millions of dollars to try to rebuild after things changed a lot for a few years. Acton received just over $7 million, which is a lot of money, and we've worked closely with the select board. I guess it started in 2020 or 2021, and we had a whole engagement program where we asked the community, where we asked departments and committees, what ideas do you have to invest this funding? And then we prioritized that. The select board adopted 42 programs that we were going to invest the money in, and then every year we would look at that and say, okay, what things do we need to change? And then eventually we finally finished the allocations at the end of December. So in the $7 million, about $2 million went to the school district. About $1.5 million were spent on utility type things, sewer, drainage. A lot of money was invested in sustainability initiatives. We have a full report on our website. We did some transportation programming. We tried a taxi pilot where we actually spent a few months allowing residents to get a taxi ride to different things they needed to get to, and we would pay the entire thing with the ARPA funds. And that was a pilot program that we learned from, and several other programs that we worked on. The dog park is getting funding from that. The 17 Woodbury is getting a lot of funding from that as well. So basically projects that we needed to do that we didn't have a resource to apply to it, we used this to help fund it. We also actually helped some private entities. There's a wastewater treatment private one up in Nagog, which does the businesses up there and all the residences up there. And they needed some major investments into that plant, which helps support a large group of residents and businesses. So the select board invested in that. I think we did about $500,000 to help the water district also with PFAS mitigation. So the money was well invested, and I think one of the things that the board asked me to do, and thank you for reminding me, is to give a full report and do a big presentation about how we spent the $7 million. We're still spending it, so I was hoping to get that through that, but I think it's a good idea to celebrate the work that we did with that, because we did a lot of important things. CPA is Community Preservation Act. That is funding that you all voted to add to your local taxes probably in the early 2000s, I believe. And that's a surcharge on your property tax bill. I believe it's 1.5%. And that goes into a special fund, and it can only be used for 4 things: open space, affordable housing, recreation, and historic preservation. And so the Community Preservation Committee is residents, volunteers, and they meet every year to determine how to spend that money that comes in through that surcharge. We also get a match from the state. So the 1.5% that each of you pay on top of your property taxes gets added, and then the state matches it at varying amounts each year, depending on how their finances are. So it's a good resource to do things that are hard to fund. Open space acquisition has been a long time been a priority for residents. We most recently used that funding source to buy the Weatherby land, which is the land that you can see on Route 2 beyond the field, that forested land. It had been for sale by the property owner, and the town wanted to buy it to preserve the way it looks and the way that it is so that residents can enjoy it as an open space amenity. We got a grant for $500,000 from the state, some donations from conservation advocacy groups, but the bulk of it was Community Preservation Act funds that were approved by town meeting. So thank you for that question. Yes?
I have 2.
You don't need to stand, but I appreciate you doing that. It's very formal.
Where the trail is over by Maple Street, where Jones Field, that park area where the road that you walk down and all that. Well,
The Assabet Rail Trail?
yeah. Well,
Okay, is that?
It starts there. It's also where other and go down to the trail. Well, the point of the matter is, there's a bump out in the street that was put there by the highway department or whatever. It's not a very trafficy street. Why that bump out is there is ridiculous, because when you come off the bridge to go to either Stowe or Maple, you have to swing around it, and it's ridiculous. And I'm surprised the plows haven't torn it up. Also, if it's covered with snow, it's a good way to lose your tire. That's one. Number two, Jones's Field, that beautiful field with the playground, which is totally outstanding. On the side, that's the Stowe Road where there's parking. There's a lot of cars, 3 or 4, I shouldn't say a lot, maybe 3 or 4, that are using that to park to go to the train station. Because I just don't think that's right.
Thank you for those questions. Are you, just so I'm clear, are you talking about the bump out that's right across the street from the train tracks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where the new,
Where the food pantry is going to go? Yeah, so.
that's even going to be more congested with people coming to the pantry.
So.
I see the need for that, why it's bumped out like that.
Okay, it's traffic engineering is a science that involves trying to control the way people drive to make it most safe for everyone, including pedestrians. So I would guess that's a pedestrian safety measure, but I can look into that. I appreciate you raising that because I didn't mention that the food pantry, the Acton Food Pantry, which is currently in Boxborough, I think it's the Acton Boxborough Food Pantry. It's currently in Boxborough. We just signed a lease, or I'm about to sign it, maybe Monday, to lease that building to them. They're going to renovate it, and it's going to become the food pantry, hopefully in sometime this calendar year. It's an exciting new amenity for the area, and it's a pretty good spot because although you said it's going to be more congested, it's in an area that is set up for people to kind of drive through and get out of, and so that'll work out pretty well. More to come on that. But so your other question though was about Jones Field, people parking there. So before things changed with commuting patterns, we rented spaces over on Jones Field for people to use the train. They're still for rent, so you may be referring to people that are renting spaces there. I don't know. There are some that are on the, there's one street that's meant for the playground, and the other street, those are available for rent. So hopefully you're talking about that one.
We're talking about one that, on the Stowe side, Stowe going into the intersection. It's still part of Stowe Street.
Yeah, I think that's where the rental ones are.
Okay, very good. Thank you for explaining that.
Thank you.
I was wondering, is the town planning to use, the police department going to use a drone for any reason? And if so, if we see a drone, how do we know it's one of those drones as opposed to a private?
The question was about drones, and our law enforcement folks planning on using a drone for any law enforcement activities. I don't know that we have a drone. Do we have one? Not yet. We don't have a drone. I know ActonTV has a drone, but they wouldn't use it for anything nefarious. They don't have it anymore.
Well, the reason I ask is about 2 weeks ago, I live in an apartment complex, and something looked like it was a low-flying plane started coming through, and I thought, that's too small for a plane. And it sounded like a lawnmower. So I quickly Googled, and I called the police department, and I said, and she said, well, I said, is it one of yours? The dispatcher said, well, I don't know, do you need to report it? And I thought, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here.
So that's an emerging issue, I think nationally. There's been a lot of talk about drones. I haven't heard much locally, but it's something that we can look into. Thank you for raising that.
Yeah, I mean, I had my picture window open, and I'm thinking, if it's just something that people do to monitor the area, I don't care. But while this is not far from Hanscom Fields, I was a little worried about that too.
Yeah, it's not a law enforcement activity. It could be a hobbyist. But what neighborhood are you, or general area?
Iris Court, and if I could look on my phone, I could tell you exactly what time.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah, we'll start talking about that. Hopefully it doesn't become an issue, but it seems to be something that people it's coming up around the country, so.
Well, a little bit of Googling seemed to tell me that Massachusetts, if you're going to have a drone over a private area, they have to have permission.
Okay, thank you. Question over here. I thought I saw a hand. Oh, over here. Yes. Yes, please.
I have a question on health insurance. I know that was one of the pressure points on the budget last year, and I think I remember you saying before was that you were looking at some alternatives for, because you were self-insured. I'm curious, did you choose another alternative, and is that working out?
Thank you for the question. The question was about health insurance, and if there's an update on what the employer-provided health insurance program is now for the town employees. The answer to that question is yes. So for 20 years, we were self-insured, which worked out well, I think, for most of those 20 years, but for the last few years, it didn't work out at all, and we were getting exorbitant increases in what we were having to pay. So we worked together with all the collective bargaining units last year to negotiate a change from that system to a different consortium of communities, which has 150 plus towns in it, called MIA, Massachusetts Interlocal Insurance Association, I think. And that is a much more stable plan that provides us the benefit of not paying for it out of pocket for everything. So we made that change as of July 1st for all active employees, and we were about to be hit with a 23 or 28. It was a very high increase last year in health insurance. We were able to mitigate that, and it wasn't as high. It was still double digits. I mean, health insurance has gone up, and it continues to rise. But it's definitely, we're in a much more stable position now, and we're not, since we're not self-insured, we're not on the hook for every single thing. We were able to use the benefit of the insurance pool. For retirees, we haven't transitioned retirees to that program yet. This is retired teachers and retired town employees, I mean. We're going to do that next year. So is it working out? Yes. It's working out much better. I think just having that pressure off of the organization is huge. You know, having 1,000 or 1,500 employees pulled together for health insurance is a lot different than having, I don't know how many are in Meyer, but it's way more. It's 150 communities, so it's got to be a very large number, and it changes the dynamics substantially. We're planning next year for fiscal year 26 for an 8 to 10% increase, which still is a lot, but it's a different realm of what we've been looking at the last few years. So thank you for the question, and we'll continue to work on ways to mitigate that cost. But an employer-provided health insurance program costs us between, I think, around $25,000 to provide to employees. We do provide an opt-out, and I know the school district recently provided an opt-out as well, where we would pay the employee $25,000 to $5,000, depending on if it's a family plan or a single plan, and that gives them an incentive to not go on our insurance, and it saves the town $18,000 to $20,000 a year. So that has worked pretty well, actually, particularly on the school district side. That's made a big change in their health insurance budgets, but we're going to continue to look at that and find ways to keep those costs controlled, because it doesn't just affect us now, it affects us forever, because any employee we have, like for me, when I retire for the rest of my life, the insurance will be provided from the town of Acton. So anytime we can keep the cost down, it's going to save money for a long time. So thank you for that question. Yes.
Great support of these, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead. You're ready. You're ready.
All right. Great support of the CPA, the extra on the taxes. But if you know of anybody that's having financial hardship, you can get an exemption if you're 60 or older and you meet certain income levels. And they can exempt the CPA that would usually you'd have to pay. So people that are in difficult financial situations.
Yes, contact the assessor's office. They have programs like that one that can help you if the taxes that you're paying create hardships. There's several programs that you can access that hopefully will help you with that. That's just one of them. Thank you for bringing that up. Leo serves on the Board of Assessors. Thank you for your service. Yes?
This is a continuation of the medical insurance question answer.
Okay.
You said that you would be transitioning the retirees, and at what point will that happen?
Thank you. So the retirees, it's been a little bit challenging because all the employees change over on a July 1st date, and the retirees for some reason go on a January 1st date, and the fact that we were able to transition the entire active employees in 2 months last year, like we did, was an enormous feat. Maya has said that it usually takes a year plus to do this transition. You guys did it in 2 months. But it was actually going to be more expensive to transition retirees early, and it would have been more costly to both the retirees and the town. And so we said, all right, let's wait a year, and we stayed with Aetna, which is the program that we had just recently transitioned to save money, which did save money, but now it's, people don't like it as much. I get it. So the goal is to get people back to Blue Cross, which is the Maya primary program, and I think we're targeting a year from now to do it. But if you are a retiree, or if you know a retiree and you have questions about that, please reach out to the Human Resources Office. They're tracking that better than I am, and they might have a better answer for you. But that's what I have for you. Thank you. Yes, question over here.
Could you update us on any possible new restaurants coming into town?
Thank you. That was a good question. Any new restaurants coming in town? Yes. So Velvet Vine Cafe, which is where Holy Grail used to be, which is near the bike shop on Great Road, that just opened the other day. Velvet Vine Cafe, it's a cool spot. I encourage you to check it out. Silver Girl is another new restaurant that opened up at the end of 2024 and is just getting going right now. That's on Arlington Street next to the train tracks, near where Orange Door used to be, Savory Lane used to be. What is it? By the post office. That's the owners of the cheese shop who do a nice job. They've now opened a restaurant, and I've heard very good things about it. A third new restaurant, which they just got their liquor license, so they should be opening soon, although I don't have a date, is Luna Mexican Restaurant. That's at the old Bickford's property. They could be opened as soon as February. I hope they are, because I think they're ready. It looks pretty good. I drove by the other day. It's looking much better than it used to. So those are three new restaurants, and I think that's all I can. Does anybody know of one, or think they know of one? That's all That's all that comes to mind. But if there's any more, we'll be back in touch. Yes.
When will the lights be up at
You know what? So Kristen Guichard is our planning director. She's been running that project for a while. I keep every time I see her, I said, when are they turning the lights on? And apparently, yeah. No, there's some excuse about wiring or something. I don't know. I think the way that a huge project like that happens is they do things in different order, and if they change the order, it makes it take longer. And so I'm hoping soon. They look good. They look like they're ready to just flip a switch. I think it's more complicated than that. So hopefully soon. But it's starting to look good, right? The project starting to feel like something. Yes? Yes. Yes.
Any news about the old Stop and Shop, and if that would be turned into a restaurant of any kind?
Oh, you mean the one down here? Yeah, I haven't heard anything on that. I don't know has the health department heard anything about the Stop and Shop that just closed? That's ready for public?
What's going to go in now?
Yeah.
No, nothing yet.
No, nothing yet. Thank you. Yes.
Do you have any idea what will happen with the South Acton Congregational Church property?
So the South Acton Congregational Church property on School Street is for sale. I haven't heard any proposals or anything interesting for who might buy it. So no, I don't know. It's an interesting spot because the church has been there for a long time, and back then you didn't need parking the way you do now. There's not a ton of parking for that property, so it'll be interesting to see what would go in there. The Exchange Hall, the big beautiful building on the corner, that recently was sold to a religious organization who I think is going to be doing some work on that and then moving into it sometime this calendar year. The dance place, the Magenta Dance Place, I think is going to be there for the near term. I don't know that they'll be there for the long term, so I believe they're looking for a new spot.
When CPA money was given to the
Exchange Hall, yes.
what 15-year contract for the town
Yes.
to utilize some of that space?
Yes, thank you. That's,
Still,
so when the owner of the Exchange Hall received the grant to do something, renovate the exterior or something, they said, you can have this, but you have to record a preservation restriction, and one of the conditions is you have to let the town use the function room on some regular basis. I don't know when that ends, but yes, that is a thing, and I don't know that the town's used it very often, but the new owner is subject to that restriction for the duration of it. Thank you. Yes.
Are you going to be at the DPW next?
The DPW open house?
Yes.
You know, I have to be, I'm speaking at a conference that day, so I can't be there. They scheduled it without talking to me. But I've been there, and I think you'll enjoy it. And if you can't make it for one reason or another, we have a video recording that ActonTV did of a tour that we did just like that last year. But I appreciate you bringing up the DPW project, because that's one of the most important things that I'm working on, and I didn't mention it at all. So I'd like to circle back to that.
My concern is, from reading on Facebook, which we probably shouldn't be doing, people on Forest Road and Hosmer are not happy about all the traffic that has to go past them to go to the transfer station. They want sidewalks.
Yes.
Okay. And one of these things that people wrote was there could be a problem getting to the transfer station after this new building is built. There's going to be more traffic, who knows. That you'd have to go around the Rotary and come up Route 2 to get into the transfer station. I don't like that idea at all.
So that is a myth that you heard on Facebook. I appreciate you bringing that up, because that's the kind of thing that I'm here to help with. So first of all, to bring you all into the conversation, DPW building, we're proposing to build a new one. The one that we built there was from the early 60s, and it wasn't built to meet the needs of the community then, and it certainly doesn't meet the needs of the community now. And so it needs to be replaced, and we have a plan that we started. Town meeting funded for about $1.2 million to design a facility, and we're now at the point where we have a design, and we're willing to bring it forward to the next town meeting, which is in May, and it'll require a debt exclusion vote at the week before at the town election because of the cost of the project. It's not something that we can do within the levy. I'm going to get back to that, because that's a lot. But I think as part of the discussion of the DPW facility, there are residents that live nearby that think it's a good idea to add a sidewalk to Forest Road, and because of the DPW facility. And I think that I would like to have a sidewalk on every road in town. And I'm not kidding. I think we should have sidewalks everywhere. And I think anyone that lives on a street would want a sidewalk on their street too. And so that's something that we certainly will be looking at. But there are also sidewalk needs that we've been trying to address for a long time that we still haven't addressed. So how that shakes out, I don't know. That's not my decision. The select board make decisions like that. I just give them the information that they need to help make those decisions. If the DPW building project moves forward, which I hope it does, it's not going to change anything about how people access the transfer station. With the exception of, and I'm not saying that you're one of these people, but some people sneak through the DPW yard to get to the transfer station. You're not supposed to do that now, and it'll be harder to do that in the future. But that's the only thing that's going to change. That you can still drive on Hosmer Street, you can still drive on Forest Road, you can still drive on Taylor Road, whatever you do now. We're not proposing to change anything about that. And so that's just something that people may have said or heard that isn't accurate. Did I address your concern?
Yes.
Okay, so back to the building. Thank you for bringing that up. When the building was built, the population was about 10,000, 12,000, maybe 13,000, I'm not sure. What it is now is 22 to 24,000, depending on who's counting. And I think the needs of the community are much different now. I mentioned sidewalks. when you build sidewalks, you have to maintain sidewalks. And when you maintain sidewalks, you have to have people and you need to have equipment. All the people and equipment that we have now to do all the things that we're doing now, a lot of it we didn't have back then. There's a lot of things that we're doing that we need the space for. We have all these big trucks that go out and when they have to go and clear the roads like they had a few times this year, they need to get out there quickly and they need to be ready to go. And the way that the current garage is set up, and we actually filmed it to show people, is that at the end of the day, they have to, you ever hear of Tetris? Like that video game? Anyways, they have to get every piece in, every truck in a little nook and cranny of the garage to make it fit. And then in the morning, they have to undo that to get people out. A modern garage and a garage that's built to suit the size of the organization would be, it would be a big space, and there'd be rows on each side, and there'd be a drive lane in the middle. So the dump truck that you need, you can drive in and park there, and if you don't need that, and you need to go in the catch basin truck, you can just get out of it, walk over here, get in the catch basin truck, back up, and go out, instead of having to move 10 things to get the catch basin truck. So that may not mean a lot to people. Realistically, I get it. I get it. Maybe that's not the highest priority in your life. I understand that. But in terms of when efficiency, and if we're using our resources effectively, doing that every day over an extended period of time, if you're someone that likes to count hours, and if you add up a half hour every day for 100, however many days we work a year, that adds up, and that's lost productivity, and that's not going to change. So that's just one operational thing. Some people say, why don't we just keep the trucks outside? Like, what do we need a garage for? I understand that argument, but I think if you live on Stowe Road, and we had a nice freezing rain, and we didn't really know about it. The forecasters missed it, and we get to the garage, and there is no garage, and we get to the site, and we say, all right, load up the trucks with salt. I say, okay, hold on, we gotta clear the trucks off first, and then we gotta, it adds a half hour to loading the trucks to get the salt in them. I mean, you could say, well, shouldn't you have the salt in them already? Yes, I get it, but my point is, you can't keep trucks like that outside. You don't want the guys coming in spending 15 minutes clearing off the windshield instead of going out and clearing off your road. It's just a matter of, well, common sense, but also just, the police and fire need to respond to emergencies. They need the roads to be clear, and if, it's all tied together. So, DPW is an important part of the services that we provide. Though you don't necessarily notice it, although you're on it every day. You're in it every day. But you have those things are the roads that you're on every day need to be maintained by them. So it's an important project. The public house, they're having a public walkthrough, an open house. Thank you for bringing that up on January 25th, which is next Saturday, 10 a.m. to noon, I think. And you're welcome to go there and just take a peek and get out of there, or you can go there and spend the whole time listening to, I think we're going to talk about different parts of the building. I think it'll be recorded. Mark, are you going to be there? I don't know. All right, sorry. Well, you got it last year, so it hasn't changed much. And then there'll be a building committee meeting later that week where Dean Charter, who's a select board member, he's leading the building committee, and they have had public meetings to discuss the different project components. The current total project cost estimate is $43 million, which is a lot. And so what we've been working on is trying to find ways to value engineer the building. Instead of having, there's a lot of different little things that you can do on a project that size that you can sort of value engineer it down, and we're in the process of that right now. An interesting part about building a building here in Acton is that we have very strict energy code requirements that we've imposed upon ourselves. As I think many of you know, we are one of the 10 communities in the state that are requiring that no fossil fuels be added to any new buildings. And so that is an important initiative for us as a community, but it also creates costs for construction that didn't exist 5 years ago. And so one of the big components of this project is geothermal wells. And so that'll save us money in the long term, but it's more expensive up front. So things like that make the project more expensive, but it's an important project to move forward. Also, energy, things like that, there's federal funding and tax rebates that we can use that we're still trying to figure out. So 43 million is a number right now, but I know it will go down, and I'm hoping it will go down enough to make people feel more comfortable with it. So thank you again for bringing that up. Any more questions or comments or rumors, myths? No? How are we doing for time? 10, what time do we start? An hour? I think that's a good program. Want to wrap? Okay. Thank you.